and 3-0. And it's time for the Bulldogs to start celebrating. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the season premiere, Season 9 of the ACHA Power Play live here on 12-Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, Channel 217. Welcome to hockey season here on 12-Ounce Sports and, of course, the ACHA Power Play, the Road to St. Louis 2025. It gets started tonight right here on the ACHA Power Play. 6 months from now, we'll be in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri at the Centene Ice Center as we try to crown some new champions in the ACHA at the national tournaments. We got a long road to go, but it'll go by quick. I guarantee you that. Welcome, everybody. Yours truly, Captain Lou, here with you again on another season of the ACHA Power Play. Glad to be here with you again in the chair as we embark on another year of bringing you the best in interviews and highlights, you name it, right here on the ACHA Power Play. How it works is we try to get at least one or two guests each week as we'll try to talk to coaches, administrators, you name it, and try to get some players on. Just kind of give you a look at a little behind the curtain at the life of the ACHA, the American Collegiate Hockey Association. We're in our 9th year here with the ACHA Power Play, as I mentioned, and we thought it would only be fitting a little bit later on here in the second half hour to bring you our special guest, the Director of Hockey Operations for the ACHA, Dave Kurtz. It was Dave and I talking about this podcast back in 2016, I believe, when we were both really just involved in Division III of the ACHA. And we started out just doing a podcast with Division III. We've now expanded it to all 5 divisions. We get guests each week. We try to get at least one from each division, at least once a month. And of course, once the road kicks into high gear, if you will, after the holidays, that's when we go each week and we go full bore on the road to St. Louis. So again, welcome everybody to the ACHA Power Play Season 9, as I mentioned, right here on 12-Ounce Sports. And we hope you enjoy the ride as the road to St. Louis is underway right now. I know it's 6 months away, but it's going to get here before you know it. Hey, we thought we would start out by a look back at the 2023-2024 season. A look back, or maybe a listen back to some of the calls from back then. Let's take a listen first. Let's go to Division III, shall we? This was a Battle of Michigan again. The ACHA Division III on the men's side dominated in the past decade and a half by the Michigan Collegiate Hockey Conference. And again, it wouldn't be any different this year, as in the semifinals, it was 3 of the 4 teams from Michigan, I believe. And now let's take a listen to the championship game call. It was Grand Valley against Lawrence Tech. These two teams knew a lot about each other. They've met many times over the years. And let's see what ended up happening.
Cleared and broken up at center from Walsh. Dundas will bring it back into the high slot. 25 seconds, he lost the handle. Driven back in by Jensen, wide of the Lawrence Tech net. It's still free with Jens trying to clear it. He'll get it on the backhand, down ice, down to 16 seconds. Masters will play it. Far side at center, slapped back in on the glove, and back into Grand Valley control. And for the first time in ACHA Nationals history, the Lawrence Tech Blue Devils are Division III national champions.
That, of course, Peyton Turnage on the call of that one, as indeed it was Lawrence Tech over Grand Valley. It was a great, great tournament for them. Ken Gaffney, a longtime coach and mentor at Lawrence Tech. He started up the D3 program. And then also after the NIA seasons back in 2018, they got the Division I program started at Lawrence Tech, and they put together quite a program there. A lot of work has finally paid off for Ken. He's been in the national tournament a few times, and they were able to culminate that with a national championship, the first for Lawrence Tech, with a win over Grand Valley. Those two teams both were looking for their first national championship, and they were able to get that as well. As it says right there, Lawrence Tech with their first D3 national title. The state of Michigan dominated in the national tournament, winning 3 of the 5 national tournaments, including this one right here is, again, Peyton Turnage on the call.
For stick with 30 seconds. On into the zone, Eagleson, wide of Beavers net. The Minot Miracle, boy, what a performance for the Beavers. It's going to fall just short for the Adrian College Bulldogs. They'll take it back in their own end. 15 seconds. The countdown on now. Turned on back in their own end by Miranda. 10 seconds. It's a clean sweep of Division I for the Bulldogs. But today, it's the women of Adrian who have claimed their first ACHA Women's Division I National Championship.
You talk about a team, again, Peyton Turnage on the call of that one in St. Louis. You talk about a team that had knocked on the door a few times, as he mentioned, with Liberty having their run, their dynasty. They had 5 straight national championships, and they tried their best. He talked about the Minot Miracle, what a game that they had against Liberty in the semifinal to get past Liberty. And of course, Liberty had to get past an Arizona State team that was one of the most dynamic hockey games that I ever called. I had the pleasure of calling that game against Arizona State, that Liberty came back from a 2-0 deficit to win 3-2. And then, of course, Minot State beat Liberty in double overtime to get to the final. But it was Adrian's day that day as the women got their first national championship, exercised some demons of their own, and now they made it. They were indeed the national champions on the women's side. Sticking with the women's side, D2, we had another team that has started to display some dominance in the national scene in the ACHA and the women's programs. Sioux College, they were looking for their back-to-back national champions, and were they able to make it?
Penalty is over. Landell chased back after it. The net is empty as it's played over on the far side. 32 seconds left. You can taste it now if you're Sioux College. Puck played around the boards. Played over now on the near side. Puck tipped around. LaCour tried to come up with it. They'll play it in behind the goal. 18 seconds left. They're on their feet now on the bench. Puck played over now on the near side. 10 seconds to go. Puck lifted out to the neutral zone. This one in behind the goal. 5 seconds to go. Can you say back to back? You can if you're Sioux College, as they are now the back-to-back 2024 ACHA Women's Division II National Champions.
Yeah, indeed it was. A dominating performance throughout the tournament for Sioux College as they went back-to-back with a win over another dominant team in Women's Division II. The Canadian teams on the women's side, they're pretty good at the D2 level, and they flexed their muscle throughout that tournament, and they won that one 3-0. It was a kind of they controlled the tempo from that one from the start. And so, yeah, it was great to be able to be on the call of that one. And a special shout out to our guy, Peyton Turnage. He was there for the duration with me, my tag team partner in St. Louis this past year. Had a lot of fun with Peyton. Boy, it was, we had some great calls of some of those games in that national tournament, and can't wait to do it again coming up in 2025. Yep. 6 months is all it's going to be. It's going to be here before we know it. I'm telling you what. So yeah, that congratulations, as we mentioned, to Sioux College. Well, we had a dandy in Division II. I have to tell you, Miami and Indiana, they were looking, both those teams looking to get to the top of the mountain. Indiana, if you remember, in Boston took on Iowa in a gut-wrenching double overtime game that they lost with about, I'd say, 90 seconds left in double overtime as they were looking to get to the championship game. Well, Indiana got back to the championship game. They went through the regional tournament again, which Division II that's the only division right now where they have the regional tournaments to advance to the national tournament. If you don't get the top 2 spots in each region, we will go through those throughout the year here on the ACHA Power Play. So I invite you to make sure that you stick with us throughout the year, because we'll give you updates on all of that. And how it works in Division II is the top 2 teams in each region, they get an automatic berth to the Nationals. They go get their tickets punched to St. Louis, and then 3 through 14 play in what could be a 3-day single elimination tournament, 4 designated sites throughout the country. Indiana and Miami both had to qualify through that regional gauntlet, and they did, beating the likes of Kentucky and North Carolina State just to get to the regionals. Miami with some amazing comeback wins. I think they spotted, I can't remember the team, they spotted a 5-2 lead. They scored 5 goals in less than 4 minutes. Reagan Cleaves and Devin Sarah were on the call of that one in that game. A monster game. I think Devin Sarah lost his voice through that in the tournament. So, yeah, it was a fun tournament. Well, those two teams made it to the Final Four, and they beat Lindenwood. Indiana beat Lindenwood 3-1. Lindenwood, by most accounts, probably the number one seed in the national tournament. They were the odds-on favorite to get to the finals, but Indiana had other ideas. They wanted to get to the nationals. And then, of course, it was Miami taking on another powerhouse in Division II, always in Division II. That was Florida Gulf Coast, and Miami won that one 3-2. That was a barn burner as well. So two great semifinals. And you ask yourself, was there any way that Miami and Indiana could match that semifinal day with a championship game? Could they one up that? And I think they could. This one went into overtime, and Devin Sarah was on the call.
Again, a shot from Semino evaded. They'll drop it off. Be patient with it. DiLorenzo across the way. One-touch pass. Looking for the right look on the right circle. Once again, they cycle it up top. Trying to diamond this one in. From the right side. A chance. Kissinger stop on the goal line. Another putback. Clipper. Score! Score! Indiana! The national championship! DiLorenzo!
Yeah, Devin Sarah on the call of that. The first Indiana championship in 50 years, I believe, or something like that. They brought home the hardware, and it was a demon exercise too. A lot of that, a lot of teams that made it to the championships that had never won one before, but they've gotten close, but couldn't quite get to the mountaintop. But Indiana did. A thrilling overtime win over Miami, 5-4. Had all the makings of a classic, and indeed it was. Now, if you've got FlowHockeyTV.tv, I know it's a subscription service, but you can watch all those games. And I got to tell you, there were some phenomenal games throughout that national tournament weekend. It was so much fun to be there. It's going to be 2 weeks next year in 2025, by the way, down at the Centene Ice Center in the middle of March. So get your plans now for that. I know I'll be down there, and I'd love to see you. I can't wait for that. Hey, we still have to talk about the big boys in Division I. Oh, that's right. They had an opportunity themselves. They crowned a championship the same night as the men's D3 championship was crowned. It was Adrian looking to get their third title in 6 years. It was the Skating Rebels of UNLV. They had the fans in Las Vegas watching on the big screen TVs, and Adrian was doing it as well at the university. That's one of the beauties of the ACHA. They have such strong followings, and it was quite a game as well. These two teams, it's single elimination in Division I, by the way, at the national tournament. You don't have the pool play that you have at the D2 or the D3 level on the men's side or the women's D2. So if you have an off period or, you spot a team a 2-0 lead, just like that, your tournament could be over. And so it was a gauntlet indeed, but it turned out to be the Skating Rebels, and it was Adrian. But it was Adrian's turn, looking for their third championship in 6 years.
Face-off won by the Bulldogs. 10 seconds left. Just the countdown now. 5 seconds left. And these dogs can still hunt. The Adrian Bulldogs are your 2024 ACHA National Champions.
Indeed it was, and it, again, was such a fun tournament down in St. Louis. Really had a blast doing it. And Adrian College won their third championship in 6 years. So they're the defending national champions. They're the preseason ranked #1 team. They've got the target on their back. They are the undisputed defending, reigning ACHA Men's Division I champions. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of great teams there. The usual suspects. You had Ohio University. You had Central Oklahoma, Liberty. You had Calvin there. You had some newcomers like Purdue Northwest. How about Niagara and Oswego State? They were the Cinderella darlings. Well, they're not going to be the Cinderella darlings anymore because they're going to be the teams that are going to be hunted. And you've got teams like Arizona there that are looking to take it to the next level. University of Mary, they made the jump to D1 after they were a D2 powerhouse for 3 years, and they made some noise in the national tournament. So many great teams. How about Minot State, Wyatt Wasylenchuk's team? They were the defending champions. They're not going anywhere either. I have this sneaking suspicion they're going to be back in the national tournament as well. So again, so much fun at the national tournament. A quick look back at the 2023-2024 national tournament. We hope you enjoyed those highlights as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's start taking a look at what's going on in 2024/2025, some of the new things that are coming and going. And of course, at the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined by the Director of Hockey Operations, Dave Kurtz, as we'll pick his brain on what to expect in the coming year here in the ACHA. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports, Dingo TV, channel 217, and of course, Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
That's right. Again, we are your ticket broker here at 12 Ounce Sports, with the NHL coming around the corner, starting up in October. I know preseason, the camps open up this weekend, and so you're going to want to look ahead. But if you want to go to those, I don't know, a new venue maybe in the NHL, make sure you check out 12 Ounce Sports /tickets and use the promo code 12 Ounce, and you'll get an even better discount, as the NHL season is right around the corner, just like the ACHA season, which actually has started up already. We got a slew of games that were played last weekend. I know you talked about University of Mary. They're off and rolling. I know Liberty's playing. There's a lot of teams. Everybody's getting into play right now in September. This is the marathon part of the schedule. Then the sprint, we always talk about it for the road to St. Louis. The marathon is now, but then the sprint starts up in right after the holidays. And before you know it, it's regional tournament time, conference tournament time. And of course, some of the national tournament will be here before you know it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the ACHA Power Play here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We talked about it real quick. What's the rankings are out in the ACHA in men's Division I. So let's, while we got a few minutes, let's see if we can't take a look at that screen and see what we got here for the rankings in the ACHA. You can see right off the top, the Adrian Bulldogs ranked number 1. They got 21 of the first place votes. Of course, they're the defending national champions. Nevada, Las Vegas. They had the runner up. They lost 3-0 to Adrian. They're looking to take that next step. Then again, Minot State, they got the other 3 first place votes. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they end up. Then you've got Ohio at number 4, Liberty at 5, Central Oklahoma at 6, Purdue Northwest. Keep an eye out for them. They're going to be pretty tough again. Carl Trozian's team, they're putting together quite a squad there at Purdue Northwest. Jamestown, the Jimmies are always a national tournament participant. Then you've got Maryville and then Pittsburgh coming in at 10. This is their Pittsburgh, another perennial team in the national tournament looking to make that next step. We talked about Mary. Calvin's back. They've got a good crew coming back as with them. Grand Valley State, Grand Canyon. Keep an eye out for Grand Canyon. They're at number 14. Then you've got Niagara. They made a nice run. Missouri State, Oswego State. They're the darlings right there. Oswego State usually, that this was kind of their baptism of fire last year, and they made some noise with a couple of quote-unquote upsets, so we'll keep an eye on them. Missouri State, again, always a participant in the national tournament. Illinois State, Utah, Arizona, Indiana Tech, Frank DeCristofaro's team from the WAC conference, the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, they're in at 21. Then you've got Delaware at 22, Indiana U of Pennsylvania 23, Rhode Island 24, and Iowa State at 25. So again, That's the preseason poll for the ACHA in men's Division I. The computer rankings don't come out till November. That's when you'll start to see some of the other rankings, in Division II and Division III, which, as we mentioned, is all important because in Division III now, they don't do the regional tournaments like they do in Division II. In the past, we've talked about it here on the Power Play, especially when we were exclusive to the D3, as they had just they would take the 4 teams from each region to make out the 16-team national tournament. But now they do 1 through 16 in the computer rankings, so we'll keep an eye on that whenever they come out. We pass them along right here on the ACHA Power Play. D2, though, the rankings, again, are important for that. And D1 for the women's, too, because it's a 10-team field, and the top 2 teams, they get a bye right to the quarterfinals. And the national tournament for them, as you all know, is double elimination for the first round. And so it's if you lose that first game, if you're 3 through 10, you're not out of the, you're not out of it. You can get another opportunity, but it makes for some interesting scenarios. And of course, the women's D2 with their championship, they play the pool play, and then they've got the winners of the pools in the semifinals and the finals. Hey, we got some new teams. Speaking of men's Division I, as we wrap that up here, we've got a couple of teams from Michigan that are making their presence felt this year at the D1 level. Saginaw Valley and Northwood are making the jump from D3 up to D1 this year. So that's going to be interesting to see how they make out. I know at Saginaw Valley, you talk about a fan base there. Now, they were a powerhouse about a decade and a half ago, winning back-to-back national championships at the D3 level, but they still have a hockey history. They've got a fan base there. They sell out their barn every weekend. They're waiting outside for them. So, yeah, it's I'm telling you, they make it to where it's it's a lot of fun there. So it's going to be fun to see what they do with at the D1 level. And then of course George Mason, they're up at the D1 level as they look to see how they can do. They are very successful at the D3 level, and now with Steve Hijek, the longtime coach of George Mason, he retired, but they still made the jump to D1. So we'll see how they fare in this coming year. There's a new conference in Division I this year here in the state of Michigan. It's called the GL6. It's going to comprise of Calvin, Grand Valley, Davenport, and also you're going to have Purdue Northwest, Roosevelt College out of the Chicago area, and then, of course, the defending national champions in D1, Adrian College. So a little bit of a different conference there for them. That's going to be quite a very competitive conference, as we saw on the top 25 rankings. 4 teams out of the top 25, or out of the GL6 rather, are ranked in the top 25. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if they beat each other up throughout the year. So again, we'll watch out for that. And then there's also a preliminary approval for a new league that's going to start in 25-26 at the D1 level. And that's going to be the ACCHL. And I know that making the jump to D1 in the next year is going to be North Carolina, North Carolina State, and Delaware. So they're going to comprise some of that league as well. So it's it'll be interesting to see how that works. That should be a fun league, because it sounds like Alabama may join that league too. So hey, college hockey at the ACHA level is huge in the Southeast. It's growing. You talk about outdoor games. How about with North Carolina and North Carolina State, that D2 rivalry? They get South Carolina involved as well. They get 20 to 30,000 people for those games at the home of the Panthers. Probably more exciting than the Panther games right now. So those outdoor events are huge. That's all the ACHA right there. The popularity of the ACHA growing in leaps and bounds over the last few years, and it's not stopping. So yeah, that's a conference that we'll keep an eye on as well in 2025 and 2026. We get more information on that, we'll make sure to pass that along to you. I know North Carolina is going to play Virginia Tech this year in an outdoor game down south. We've got some monster tournaments that we'll talk about throughout the year. There's a big showcase going on in the Chicago area the weekend before Thanksgiving, the Capper Classic, I believe it's called, and the Chicago Classic, excuse me, then the ACHA Big Ten Classic, where they've got Big Ten teams from the ACHA playing. And then in men's Division I, they've got some huge ACHA teams. We'll just touch on that real quick. Arizona State, Illinois State, Alabama, Delaware, Jamestown, U of Mary, Michigan, Dearborn, Nevada, Las Vegas, Rhode Island. Yeah, there's some monster teams in that one coming. So much going on throughout the season. And that's another thing that you see more and more of now throughout the year, not just the conference games. You see more of these showcase tournaments, and they get a lot of fans there at the games. So it really is, it's taken off. And you've got showcases in Lindenwood. You've got some out west. You've got some in the Northeast. You got some here in the Michigan area. Grand Rapids has the Hall of Fame tournament with Aquinas and Calvin and Grand Valley and Davenport. It's standing room only for those tournaments. And it's right after Thanksgiving. It's kind of in the holiday season. It's so much fun. And it's just more incentive for these players to keep them sharp, getting ready for the national tournament. Again, so many things going on. We're going to talk to Dave Kurtz here in about 3 minutes. We'll get him on the line, and we'll talk more about these national tournaments and about everything else that's going on in the world of the ACHA. We'll take a look back, with him talking about his days behind the mic at the D2 level. So much to talk. It's always fun catching up with Dave as he gets set to start another campaign and another road to St. Louis. So what we're going to do again, before we go to break, a reminder, this is the 9th season of the ACHA Power Play. We're glad you're with us. We're glad you're joining us again here on 12 Ounce Sports. And of course, the ACHA Power Play, you can see it in its entirety too on my YouTube channel, the Captain Lou Sports Network. I invite you to check it out there, and the 12 Ounce Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on or X, I should say. Follow us everywhere on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. You can watch every episode of the ACHA Power Play, both on the 12 Ounce Sports YouTube channel or also on the Captain Lou Sports Network. And also, we're on a 24/7 TV channel, which is called Dingo TV. We're on channel 217. You can see that at the bottom of the screen. But the ACHA Power Play, again, we're going to have coaches every week. Every program, we're going to have administrators. We'll try to get some play-by-play guys, you name it. We're going to reach out to that just keeps it more lively. It's always fun catching up with the coaches from around the country and kind of see how their season's going and what they do to prepare as everybody gets geared up for the season. And of course, the road to St. Louis in 2025. All right, we're going to take another quick break here in a moment again, but a reminder, we'll be on every other Tuesday here throughout November and into December. And then after the holidays at the first of the year, then we'll be on every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, right here on 12 Ounce Sports and also Dingo TV channel 217. If there's a team that you want us to try to interview, a coach or a player, drop me a line, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com, or on Twitter, on X, I should say, at The Real Captain Lou. Follow me there, or my Facebook page, Louis Gamlin, or again, drop me an email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com. All right, we're going to take that break. When we come back, we'll catch up with Dave Kurtz, the executive director the director of hockey operations for the ACHA. All right, you're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live here on 12 Ounce Sports and Dingo TV, channel 217.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ouncesports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the ACHA Power Play live here on 12 Ounce Sports, as always, and the Captain Lou Sports Network and YouTube, and of course, Dingo TV channel 217. And now, as promised, let's bring in the director of hockey operations and one of the co-founders of this podcast 9 years ago. Dave, can you believe it's gone that quick already? Dave Kurtz joining us. How are you, Dave? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Lou, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm great. It all started out back in 2016 when you and I talked on the phone for the first time, talking about doing a D3 podcast. And this has been so much fun. And 9 years already, our first episode in season 9.
Well, it's been a great experience. I know for just being able to listen in and see how it's grown, it's been amazing.
Yeah. So, we talked about it at the top of the show. We went back and looked at St. Louis, the champions from 2023 or the 2024 national championships, I should say. And Dave, it seems like that tournament grows every year, gets better and better. And we had some great championship games and some great championship runs in each of the 5 divisions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have for the first time ever that you have a men's one, women's one win the national championship from the same place in Adrian. The first time in a long time that there hasn't been that Liberty hasn't been the women's one champion. Sioux back to back. You have Lawrence Tech winning their first ever. It was a great tournament last year. I think this upcoming year is going to be even more wide open. I think there are a lot of really good teams across the 5 divisions, and I think there are definitely some teams that are on the rise that I think are ready to take that next step if they can make it to nationals and healthy and ready to go. It's a long season.
It is, and we were just talking about it. We've already had some games this weekend, and it's always a marathon until about Christmas time, and then they go full bore. But you hit the nail on the head. You got to pace yourself to stay healthy, because some of these teams, they play 35 to 40 games, which is a lot for college hockey.
Oh, it is. It is. This is the first time that in all the years I've been affiliated with the ACHA that I saw multiple games on the first weekend of September on the schedule. I mean, occasionally, every once in a while, you would see like one team playing another team in the beginning of September, maybe some local rivalry or something like that. They want to kick off the season, but we had, I think, 8 or 9 games that weekend. And to think that if you're playing in the beginning of September and you could be playing all the way until the 3rd week of March, that is a long time to be playing hockey.
It is, and you've got to stay disciplined with it on the ice as well as off the ice with the academics. You and I have talked on these shows before about, the discipline and the organization of these students, because a lot of them, they have to do the fundraising and the, putting the teams together. They have their own councils and everything. And it's just a testament to the kids on the ice, how well organized and how smart and, just disciplined they are.
Absolutely.
And so, Dave, you have the tournament, and then of course you have your national meetings. Last year they were in Nashville. What do you do? Do you take a deep breath and just decompress for the summer? What do you do in the off season?
Well, so they be getting shorter and shorter every year. So I think I'm pretty much down to about 2 weeks off. That's about it. Well, because unfortunately, just like you have a life and a job, so you're not running full time. So there's always a list of things that you just don't have time to do during the season that you have to do in the off season. Updates to changes that you want to do to the website, things you want to add, adjustments, having conversations with sponsors, all that. I mean, some of that stuff can go on during the year, but a lot of times you almost need to not have in order to fix that, you can't be putting out all the fires that you normally have to do, or trying to just make it through the next showcase or tournament or something like that. So, but it was a pretty quiet one. Again, we really started kicking it off like across the board. It probably mid-July as the declaration opened up. And then, of course, when we hit mid-August, teams started coming back from, and so therefore, when those students start hitting the campuses, it gets real busy because then practices start and registration starts and everyone wants to get their stuff in, and it's good. They're doing a good job, but it is a lot of work right now.
Yeah, it's I suppose it's just nonstop from now right until the final championship is crowned in St. Louis in March. Dave, you brought up something about tournaments and showcases. Is it just me? It seems like, which is a great thing, I'm seeing more in-season tournaments and showcases. We talked about it a little bit before the break. Just the one that's going on in Chicago the weekend before Thanksgiving. You've got a great showcase with I think 10 or 12 teams in Division One. Then you've got the Big Ten, quote unquote, showcase of D2 teams. It seems like more and more of those are popping up to really help spread the word for the ACHA.
Yeah, I think teams are, especially coming after COVID, I think a lot of teams realized it was a slow build, and especially when it came to getting your players back, which players equal dues, which equals money, if you're trying to rebuild your program. And so teams, I think, are just realizing more and more that for hosting a tournament financially for them is probably lesser cost than having to go travel somewhere. Plus, you get three teams in that might not come normally, and you get to play them. And the same thing goes for another teams that are traveling. They look at it as if we're going to travel, let's get 3 games. We don't have to travel once we're there. It's not like you're going and playing, like, say, a team and then having to get on the bus for another 2 hours to drive to play another team and then go home. You're getting three games in the same barn, so you're able to just kind of chill. And so, I think that they're seeing that, and people enjoy it. It builds rivalries. It builds camaraderie. I think that the ACHA, I know we have begun to provide more back in like the mid to 2010s, 2000s and 2010s. The ACHA hosted a lot of showcases throughout the year, like in the years, like through the divisions. And so we're trying to bring those back. There's an M1 happening in January. We're working on the other divisions to be able to bring teams together to try to get some of that play that might be hard to do on your own because of travel. But if you put it in a centralized location, you're able to get them there. So we're excited about that. And yeah, there are a lot of really good ones this year. And Flow Hockey is covering a lot of them, which makes it even better so people can watch it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, that's one of the biggest question marks I get is where can I see some of these games? And Flow Hockey does a wonderful job with it. And I'm glad that the ACHA is a partner with them. One of the other big things that's going on, Dave, after Christmas is another chance for the ACHA to showcase globally. And they're going to be at the World Games again, the Winter World University Games over in Italy. I know I keep telling Craig that they need to have a play-by-play guy to go over to Italy, but that always falls on deaf ears. But I can keep the plug going anyways.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and this will be the first year. This is the first year that the ACHA has been back as the provider of the players since before COVID, and it's a little bit different. In years past, it has been almost a 100% USA Hockey sponsored event. Like it was like we supplied the players, but it was run by the USA Hockey.
Okay.
Now it's a little bit more of a partnership, just because it's just a different world we live in since COVID and travel and all those kind of things. And so, but it's good. It's a good partnership, and we're excited about what we're seeing, and I think it's going to be great. I think both teams are going to be really good. I think they should both contend for medals, and I think that it's just a positive way to showcase our game, and also a way for us to showcase the level of talent, so that when teams and leagues from places, especially over in Europe, are looking to add international talent to their teams, then the ACHA is a viable option for them. And that's all the things we send over. Select teams, World Junior Games. The hope is that these players, when they're finished at their ACHA schools, get chances to be able to come and play. And we've had, lots and lots of people that have gone on to play pro, both in America and over in Europe.
Yeah, I noticed that they're starting to sprinkle into the ECHA or the ECHL, and then, like you mentioned, overseas. Dave, here every year you see some teams that they make the jump, from D3 to D2, D2 to D1, and even this year here in Michigan, we've got two teams that jumped from D3 to D1. Tell us a little bit how hard of a transition that's going to be for those teams. It's the level of competition.
Well, I think for a lot of these teams, and there were 3 teams that moved up to M1, I think the biggest thing is not necessarily on ice ability, which I think there's always going to be a transition. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not necessarily going to all be like University of Mary, which dropped in from being like a two-time national champ, one-time like semifinalist, right up to being a top 10 team in the Nationals last year in their first year in Division I. But I think they'll be able to grow in that. I think organization-wise, it can be a little bit, not that Drury and Northwood and Saginaw Valley don't all have great organizations, but it's another level just with the kind of the off-ice operation that goes on, how you handle everything. Everything is in, as our top division should be, is very regimented in terms of how it happens. And so you walk into any barn that has M1 being played on a Friday night, you can go to different places and they would all feel very much the same in terms of what's going on. And that just takes a little bit of getting used to, I think. And the teams that have been doing that for a while. But all the other ones, I mean, we've had a ton. We've had almost 20 teams change division. We've had over 20 new programs coming in this year.
Wow.
And so it's just been incredible. Like, and some of, not all of them, very few of them are like extension pieces. So like take, for example, Drury, when they moved up to 1, they backfilled with an M3 team. So they have 2 squads. Okay. That, there are those, but we've had a ton of new, like fresh programs that are not like, have no affiliation prior to that. So it's been exciting, and we're incredibly excited to see how that helps fill out some of the geographic places that we're reaching for.
Yeah.
Here in the ACHA, and now there's the biggest step for us is there was a secondary the West Coast Hockey Conference had 2 divisions at M2, like a tier 1 and a tier 2, and those tier 2 teams are now an M3 league. And so once again, the M3 after a long time, kind of the line being New Mexico, is now once again a completely coast to coast division.
Oh, that's
so, you now have teams in California and New Mexico and Arizona and things like that in that league. And so that's huge for us.
Yeah.
Because now more teams can get involved because there is now a league for them to play in. There are teams that they can get started with that will help them.
Do you ever see D3 going back to the regional tournament setup? The only reason I ask that, Dave, is because I'm like you. I love those regional tournaments, the qualifiers at the men's D2. There's so much fun to watch for you and I anyways. Do you ever see that going back to D3?
I do. Yeah. I do. And now that is not me saying that there is something secretly happening on the books. But,
no, I'm not putting you there.
But here's what I do know is that M3 is growing, and it is growing quickly. And so I think that there's going to become a point where we're going to get back to the number of teams that we were at prior to COVID and everything like that. And so I think there's going to be, just like there was at M2 and then even at M3 when it was larger, a push to give more opportunities. Do I think that a regional will pop out exactly like it was when it was there, where it was like 8 teams at each place? Maybe not. It might be a smaller. There might be more of them.
Yeah.
You could have 8 regionals that have less teams in them, so to help geographic travel and things like that. But I do. I think that it benefits us as an organization to have more teams playing with something to go at the end of the year. It helps us organization-wise, focus-wise, makes the hockey better, especially in January and February. And, what guys want to be playing for something.
Yeah, well, for sure.
And that's what makes league tournaments so exciting, is that because you step on the ice and if stuff can happen and suddenly you're raising a cup, a plaque, whatever it is, and that's memories. And so I think yes. So I think what form they'll take, I have no idea, but I do think that something will come up that will have a lead in before you head to nationals.
The ACHA Director of Hockey Operations, Dave Kurtz, joining us for a few more moments here on the ACHA Power Play. Dave, you talk about teams with tradition and schools with ACHA tradition. Liberty's starting their 40th year, if I'm not mistaken, of hockey, and they've built, they've got powerhouses at every level. They do quite well. That's got to be something I know that you take pride in, being from that area, and they've kind of set the bar a little bit. I know some schools are trying to match them, but with the teams at every division. But that's kind of exciting and a nice milestone for Liberty.
Yeah, it's weird to think that when I was affiliated with the program back in the late 90s and early 2000s, like that would have been like 20 years of existence. And that we thought that was a big deal that we made it that long.
Yeah.
But what I see is that programs can grow into being something that you never thought they would be. And so there's a lot of times we bump in, especially like with early programs, and they can't imagine. They have these dreams, but they think they'll never be achieved. And I can tell you with 100% confidence that when I was affiliated with Liberty's team, everything that you see now, we would have thought would have been not just a pipe dream, but like a fever dream. Like the idea of having an on-campus rink. Mm-hmm. The thinking of being on ESPN Plus and it's treated like an NCAA program by the school in the sense of like how it's marketed and things like that. Those kind of things. Again, you would have asked if we were smoking something, right? But that's 20 years ago. It wasn't overnight, and so I think for some of these teams that are trying to grow and they look at it, you never know. You never know. If you stay with it, if you put good product on the ice, if you represent your university well, if you have if it becomes something that is a benefit and a pride to the university, who knows, maybe there's a rink built on your campus, or you're playing at 7:30 at night because the place you're playing at in town packs out because the community is excited. There's all sorts of different things, but I do think the growth in the idea of having multiple programs is going to be something we're going to see. Almost every major program in the ACHA is going to eventually go to having at least a second men's program at the school, and probably multiple women's programs. I think we're seeing that's the next growth area in terms of the ACHA vision kind of looking at. We're seeing a lot is that a lot of these W1 teams are now starting to get enough players that you don't want to lose that talent. You don't want to lose people not being on the ice. Right. And so you create a second program. It allows those women to play. Some of them might get better. Like, you just on the guys' side, you go in, suddenly you get to play a lot, you get to practice a lot, get to be on a good team, and then suddenly you're ready to make it up that jump. So I think that's where we're going to see a lot of growth along with new programs. I think a lot of places are going to start second or even third programs, just because there's so many people who want to play.
That's exciting, and tapping into that is a job that you guys have done phenomenally in the last few years, and it's growing in leaps and bounds. Dave? What's next on your plate at the end of September? What is your next task, if you could share that with us?
Man, well, it's never too early to start planning out rankings.
Okay.
Because even though they don't start till November, it seems like you go to sleep one night and the next day you're waking up and you're like having to get everything squared away for that. I think those are the big, I think a lot of what we do early on is a lot of paperwork and administration, but I know that we're going to be starting our calls for our advanced group for nationals, even though we're going back to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And you think by now it's because it's the third time that we'd have everything kind of buttoned up, but we have a lot every year. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things we want to do better. There's a lot of things we want to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start having our planning meetings over the probably next month sometime. And so we'll have to start prepping for those. And we're interviewing interns for that. And it's, so it's an exciting time to be involved with the ACHA. It's just a tiring time right now.
Well,
but we appreciate we always appreciate the support that you and the people that listen to this and fans of the ACHA give to us, and be able to really make it just the incredible organization that it is.
Boy, it is. And it's fun to be a very, very, very small part of it. I really enjoy it.
Come on, Lou. You're not a small part. You're a huge part.
This is a labor of love. Trust me, man. I'm fired up for this. My wife thinks I'm crazy. Hockey in September. I said, nah, I've been waiting for this. I always plan this about this time of year. So, Dave, I appreciate you taking time out tonight to do this. We get together in St. Louis in March. Just promise me something. If the Avs and the Wings are playing and we're watching that game, let's please have it a little closer than last year's game, eh?
Well, no, I'm quite fine with it being a
I'm sure you were.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, we have to figure out how to get tickets and go see somebody play down at the Enterprise Center while we're there.
Well, like you have time.
Well, and that's what I have an assistant director for.
Well,
I'll
there
just get
you
him
go.
to do all my work.
Well, all right, I'll get Brandon on the horn. I'll guilt him into it as well. Absolutely, Dave, for sure. Hey, thanks again for coming on. I'll be in touch, and keep up the great work, man. It's an absolute treat to talk to you.
Thanks, Lou. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you, and I'm glad your Tigers are doing well, just not at my Orioles' expense. So,
well, all right, we'll talk to you soon. Me too. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see you.
All right, man.
You
Talk
bet.
to you.
You bet. Dave Kurtz, the director of hockey operations, taking time out of his busy schedule to be with us here on the ACHA Power Play. And so again, so much going on. It really is. We talked about it being a marathon here in the first few months, but for Dave and everybody else that, they're not behind the scenes. They are the blood and guts of it. They're the backbone, him and Craig Barnett and Brandon Roth, everybody. I mean, they are the epicenter of it, and they get it going, and it's nonstop for them. Like you said, it's tiring, but it's definitely a labor of love. And to see the ACHA explode the way it has over the past, even the decade that I've been involved with it behind the microphone, and bringing you this show. It's from when I started at the D3 Nationals in Grand Rapids back in 2016, all the way to here, watching it all in a single location, getting all 5 groups together, all 5 divisions getting together. And the talk, just listening to Dave's voice, there's a lot in store, a lot more teams coming. And, one of the things that stood out to me talking about, more teams is the teams out West. You don't hear about them as much because, for the most part, hockey has started out on the East Coast, but there are so many great teams out on the West Coast. We're going to make sure that they get a lot of love here on the ACHA Power Play. All right, again, thanks to Dave Kurtz for joining us. We're going to take one more quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll wrap things up here on the ACHA Power Play on 12 Ounce Sports, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, and Dingo TV, channel 217. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the ACHA Power Play here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, and Dingo TV, channel 217. Again, thanks to the Director of Hockey Operations, Dave Kurtz, for joining us here, getting us setting the tone here. As again, wanted to have him on. This is our 9th season of the ACHA Power Play. It started out really with a conversation with Dave and I over the phone back in 2016. He was the D3 commissioner at the time, and we just kind of put our heads together and thought, let's do a podcast. Let's talk to some of the coaches. Let's get the word out. And it has indeed taken off. You know, we've expanded it to all the 5 divisions, and that's our goal. We want to get as much of the word out as possible because it is such a great organization that I'm very blessed to be a part of here behind the microphone here with the ACHA, with the Power Play. All right, we've got a few moments left. Again, we thought, why don't we take one more quick look? We talked about the champions from last year, the road to St. Louis starting in 2025. So we thought we would maybe take one last look at the rankings for Division One. So let's bring those up on the screen right now. The ACE 20, these are preseason rankings. Now, just to keep in mind, something for you to look at, the computer rankings, they come out in November, as Dave mentioned a little bit earlier. And that's when you start seeing the division rankings, keeping an eye out for them to see where your team stands. But this is kind of a, I don't know, maybe a coach's poll or whatever, just a preseason ranking. And the 24 votes, Adrian College, the defending, reigning ACHA Men's Division I national champions. They get 21 first place votes. You can see right there. The runner-up, Nevada, Las Vegas, they're 2. Minot State is 3. Ohio 4. Liberty 5. Central Oklahoma 6. Purdue 7. Jamestown 8. Maryville 9. And Pittsburgh 10. And you can see the list right there, right through to number 25 for the national rankings. So there you go with the preseason rankings. And real quick, before we end here tonight, we talked about the world games, the Winter World Hockey Games. See if I can bring that up. I thought I had a graphic for those. I guess I don't. But again, the 2025 in January. Oh gosh, I thought I had. Oh, here we go. They're going to be the ACHA on the men's and the women's side are going to be participating in this national tournament or world tournament, the World University Games in Torino, Italy, January of 25. The head coach for the men's team is Gary Astalis. He is the head coach of Adrian College, the defending national champions. His assistant coaches are going to be Chad Berman, 11-year coach at Arizona, and Wyatt Wasylenchuk, the head coach of Minot State. So you talk about pedigree on the men's side. There you go. That's going to be a stout coaching staff right there to lead the players for on the men's side over in Italy. And then on the women's side, Lindsay Ellis, the head coach at Arizona State. We all remember that run they had in women's D1. That was one of the most amazing games that I've ever seen. Their goaltender, what did she have? 70-some saves or something like that. I mean, what Liberty in 2 games in that national tournament, in the quarters and the semis, peppered 2 goalies with 150 shots or something outrageous like that. It was absolutely amazing. You talk about running into buzzsaws and goaltenders. But Arizona State, I know they're going to build from that. So Lindsay Ellis, their head coach, is going to coach the women's team. She's going to be assisted by Jenna Trubiano, the head coach of Michigan. We've had both of those coaches on here on the podcast. I'm sure we'll get them on before they go to Italy or right after to talk about that experience. And Anna Quattro from Niagara, the head coach of their women's team there. So that's going to be a fun experience for the coaches, the staff, and the players. It's going to be a lifetime or a memory that's going to last a lifetime for them. So, all right. Hey, that's going to do it. Season 9 premiere, episode 1 of the ACHA Power Play is wrapped up. It's in the books. We appreciate you taking time out to watch us, letting us come into your homes and on your computers and whatnot to watch us here on the ACHA Power Play on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And of course, Dingo TV, channel 217. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another live edition of the ACHA Power Play. We invite you for that. Same time, same channels. And you can watch a replay of this on 12 Ounce Sports on YouTube. And of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. All right. For the Director of Hockey Operations, Dave Kurtz, and for everybody here from the ACHA Power Play, Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. Until next time, Captain Lou saying so long.